This is the third series of questions as you prepare for the DP-900 Microsoft Certified Azure Data Fundamentals Certification Exam. So let's begin with question number 20. For which type of workload is data normalization a primary concern? Analytical, transactional, machine learning, or streaming? So the answer is transactional. Data normalization, which organizes data to ensure they appear the same across all data records and fields, is a primary concern in transactional databases. Question 21. A business analyst running quarterly financial reports would most likely be performing which type of workload? Transactional, analytical, streaming, or operational? So, quarterly financial reports is historical data, and that would be the answer is analytical. Quarterly financial reports require aggregating and analyzing data, which is a characteristic of analytical workloads. Question 22. Which workload primarily focuses on the ingestion and processing of data in real time? Batch processing, transactional, analytical, or streaming? In real time, the answer is streaming. Streaming workloads handle data in real time as it's generated rather than in batches or after storage. Question 23. How are analytical workloads different from transactional ones? Analytical workloads prioritize fast read and write operations. Analytical workloads handle a high volume of concurrent users performing short operations. They involve historical data aggregation for insights, or they emphasize data integrity in every transaction. So the answer to this is, well, analytical workloads are not in every transaction. That would be a relational database. Historical data aggregation. Do they prioritize fast read and write operations? No, they're usually just read operations. So the answer to this is historical data aggregation for insights. Analytical workloads typically deal with analyzing historical data to derive patterns, insights, and intelligence, unlike transactional workloads that focus on day-to-day operations. Question 24. Who is typically responsible for designing, constructing, installing, and maintaining large-scale processing systems and other infrastructure? The data analyst, a database administrator, a data scientist, or a data engineer? So the answer to this is the data engineer. Data engineers are responsible for the architecture and infrastructure needed for big data analysis and operationalization. That's a tongue twister. Question 25. Which role typically ensures that the database is available, is performing properly, and keeps the data secure? The data scientist, the data analyst, the data engineer, or the DB admin? The answer is database administrator. Database administrators, or DBAs, manage and maintain the database environment to ensure its availability, performance, and security. Question 26. Whose primary responsibility includes querying databases, analyzing trends, and creating visualizations for business decision making? The data analyst, database administrator, data engineer, or data scientist? So for business decision making, the answer will be the data analyst. Data analysts focus on querying databases, deriving insights from data, and presenting findings in a format that's useful for decision makers. Question 27. Which role is primarily focused on the design and implementation of algorithms, predictive models, and machine learning applications? A data analyst, a data engineer, a data scientist, or a database administrator? This one is pretty straightforward for machine learning. It's always going to be the data scientist. Data scientists work on more complex tasks like building algorithms and models for predictive or classification tasks. Question 28. If a company wants to optimize and fine-tune its database for performance, who should they consult? The data analyst, a data scientist, a database administrator, or a data engineer? So the answer is a database administrator. DB admins are experts in managing, maintaining, and optimizing databases for optimal performance. Question 29. Who typically manages and orchestrates an organization's data pipeline and infrastructure for both batch and real-time data processing? The data engineer, the database administrator, the data analyst, or the data scientist? The answer to this is the data engineer. Data engineers handle the design and orchestration of data pipelines, ensuring data flows efficiently from various sources to destinations. Question 30. Which role would typically be responsible for creating dashboards and reports for stakeholders to understand key performance indicators or KPIs? The data scientist, the data analyst, the database administrator, or the data engineer? So, for working with stakeholders in the business, the answer is the data analyst. Data analysts focus on interpreting data and creating easily digestible visuals, including dashboards, think Power BI, and reports to convey insights and KPIs to stakeholders. Halfway there, what do relational database, question 31, what do relational databases use to uniquely identify each record in a table? An index, a key, a join, or a relation? So the answer is a key. Primary keys uniquely identify each record in a relational database table. Question 32. What term is used to describe a situation where a piece of data in a database needs to be updated in multiple places? Redundancy, normalization, integrity, or referential? So the answer is redundancy. Redundancy means the same data is duplicated in multiple places. Question 33. Why is normalization used in a relational database? To increase storage space, to decrease performance, to reduce data redundancy, to make queries more complicated? So some of these answers are quite obvious. To make queries more complicated, that doesn't make any sense. To decrease performance, that doesn't make sense. To increase storage space. So the answer is to reduce data redundancy. Normalization organizes data to minimize redundancy and dependency by organizing fields and tables of a database. Question 34. Which SQL statement is used to retrieve data from a database? Insert, update, get, or select? The answer is select. The select statement is used to query or retrieve data from a database. Question 35. What database object contains a set of SQL commands that you can save and reuse? A trigger, a procedure, a view, or a schema? So the answer to this is a stored procedure. Stored procedures are sets of SQL commands that can be saved and executed as a single unit. This question's a little bit tricky because it could also be considered a view, which is a way of using an SQL select statement and reusing that, but SQL commands, not just select, would be a stored procedure. Question 36. What is the term used for the relationship between two tables where one primary key is related to multiple records in another table? One-to-one, many-to-many, one-to-many, or many-to-one? So two tables where one primary key, so it's going to be one for the first part, is related to multiple records. So we have one to multiple. So the answer is one to many. In one-to-many relationships, one record in a table can be associated with one or more records in another table. Question 37. Which SQL statement is used to make changes to existing data in a database? Insert, select, update, or define? So the answer is update. The update statement is used to modify existing records in a database. Question 38. What is the term used to describe how data in a database relates to other tables or data models? By its relations, by its queries, by its schema, or by its normalization? So the answer to this is by its schema. A table structure including column names and data types is defined by its schema. Question 39. What database object represents a subset of data from one or more tables? A trigger, a procedure, a schema, or a view? So the answer to this is a view. A view represents a virtual table based on the result set of an SQL statement. And the last question, what is the purpose of the join clause? This is question number 40. What is the purpose of the join clause in SQL? To insert data into tables, to combine rows from two or more tables, to delete data from tables, or to update data in tables? So the join clause in SQL, the answer is to combine rows from two or more tables. The join clause is used in SQL to combine rows from two or more tables based on a related column. And I hope that this next set of questions has helped you prepare for the exam as you study for the DP-900 and get ready to successfully pass and gain that certification. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this quiz preparation video, and let me know in the comments and I can make more. Thank you and good luck.